Hi, everyone. May the Lord be with you. Ben Gargett and myself are here to give you a message and some updates from Church Council, which we'd like to share with you. We wanted to share this in person last weekend, but clearly with the ups and downs with COVID and the lockdowns, etc., we thought it was more important for us to get an update out to you in this form, and then we will there'll be some opportunities for you to catch up with us post this. Also, there'll be a written update which we'll provide this coming weekend if you prefer to read effectively the transcript of what we're talking about, and we'll edit out all the ums and the ahs out of the written form so that you can read it nice and clean. There's a pretty timely update for us. There's a lot going on, and you'll already be aware that there's quite a bit going on. And there are a number of topics that we want to cover off in today's message. We'll be sharing more information on all of these as we head towards a planned meeting of the congregation in November. So you'll see ongoing communications around that. Church Council's been working through our priorities and trying to bring together a view of all that we've got on our plate, which we pray will help make sense in terms of the themes we're thinking about. There's a common thread we've been sort of working on, and that common thread is especially around these updates today, is one of service and mission. So the mission we have to each other and the mission that we're called to beyond ourselves. This is most clearly told to us from Scripture in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, which I'll just quickly read to you. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Church Council acknowledge that there is much for us to be thankful for. And in some respects, we've travelled through a season where we've been asked to do quite a bit of focus on ourselves, our spiritual health, our connections, our humility, and in some respects, preparing ourselves to lift our eyes. As it says here in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, Church Council now feels that it's time for us to lift our eyes and talk about service and mission in a much fuller context. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this update and about the many things that are happening around the congregation right now. What you'll hear in the update are some activities we're progressing, which will help with getting the groundwork ready for us to lift our eyes. It's a really exciting time for us as a congregation, and it's a time of change. A new season for St Paul's, and we're starting to look beyond ourselves, which is great. In terms of the updates that Ben and I want to take you through today, I'll just quickly run through. So there'll be an update on the financial statements, the 2020 financial statements. There'll be an update on roles in terms of some around portfolios and committees, etc., including succession planning for Church Council. And then Ben will take us through a number of topics, our Station Street cash surplus, SPG and a Project B update, and then also the review we've started and kicked off around ministry and resourcing. So let me start with the 2020 financial statements. For those of you that were at our May congregation meeting, you'll be aware that we appointed ASV Wadeson as our auditors, and they've been working with us to prepare the financial statements for audit. As part of preparing for the audit, Church Council acknowledged that while our existing ways of handling our finances have served us so well, it was time for us to consolidate how we manage and report our finances. As we physically transitioned from Station Street to Riversdale Road, the needs of the congregation in terms of managing its finances have also changed. We're no longer a congregation with just offerings coming in. Our context is now a little more complex. And in order to prepare ourselves for managing our finances in that change context, we undertook some significant accounting activity to help us streamline planning and reporting going forward. I'm pleased to let you know that the audit is well underway, and we expect that the audit will conclude shortly. A report is currently being prepared for Church Council, and we expect to receive that at our August meeting coming up next month. And after that, we'll be able to confirm with you when we will present the 2020 audited financial statements and accounts to the congregation for you to have a look at and approve. Thank you for your patience and your understanding as we've worked through this in the last couple of months. To get us to this point has required an extraordinary amount of work, and my spending a minute or two talking to you and updating you really doesn't no justice in terms of the work that's been going on in the background just to get us ready for audit and then take us through audit. I also want to call out some of the individuals to thank them now on behalf of all of us. It's fair to say that their selfless giving and taking on more and more has hidden the true changing nature of the work that's been needed in this space. So to Eldon and to John, firstly, on behalf of all of us, an incredible debt of thanks for your selfless giving and your selfless servant hearts for all that you've done for our congregation, and especially in the aspect of helping us plan, manage and report on our finances. Countless decades of service, and we will find an appropriate time and a way to thank you more fully, not through a Zoom meeting or a video. To Jan for auditing our accounts for so many years and providing the congregation with independent review of our finances. Jan, to you, thank you. And to Heidi for stepping in as acting treasurer and helping to prepare us to move forward to consolidate accounts and establish a streamlined set of processes which will help us plan, manage and report our finances going forward. So thank you. Okay, I'll just catch up on the slide. In terms of the next topic, update on roles. So I wanted to just talk to you about that. Again, at our May congregation meeting, we spoke briefly about the increased focus we had on portfolios. This was in response to, you may remember, this was in response to one of the Emmaus Group recommendations for us to work smarter and look to share the load and look for opportunities for leadership more broadly and help out. I'm pleased to let you know that work continues on the portfolios. In addition to the portfolios, though, there have been a number of other teams that have been established to work on specific activities to support the congregation. This includes pastoral assistance, as you can see on the slide, and also a number of subcommittees. The following are there. I'll talk quickly, I'll put a brief word on a couple of those. Ben will speak to Ministry Resourcing Review and SBG a little later. In terms of nominations committee, that will be specifically to look at, to understand what are the available and the emerging opportunities that we have for leadership and team membership moving forward, but also to make sure who and talk about and consider prayerfully who could be considered and approached for specific roles on those teams. Part of that role will also be to include that we're making sure that we're not calling on the same people all the time, that our people are well rested and that our people do not burn out. In terms of the core committee, we've started sounding out potential core committee members. Church Council does not expect us to start a call process anytime soon in the short term. There are some outputs that we need from the Ministry and Resourcing Review before we formally kick off a call committee or decide to kick off a call process. We're simply laying down the groundwork and getting in early to be prepared if that is where the Ministry Review gets to. The Ministry Review gets to. Ben is going to speak a little more on the Ministry and Resourcing Review as well as SBG, so I'll leave them for him to pick up in a moment. Look, I want to thank all of you that have stepped onto these portfolios and committees, subcommittees of Church Council, and just stepped onto these teams and groups just to further the mission and service of St. Paul's. We're incredibly blessed by so many of you that are willing to give of your time and your God-given talents for the sake of our congregation. We are richly blessed and I thank God for each and every one of you. As always, if you are listening to this, or if you feel a tug on your heart for any of these groups or other mission and ministry opportunities, as you hear more about this going forward, please come and have a chat. In terms of further roles, in terms of church council and church council succession planning, just wanted to let you know that recently Church Council has invited a member of the Chinese Lutheran Church of Victoria to attend all of our church council meetings going forward. This will allow us to continue to deepen our partnership relationships with the CLCV, and we're extremely pleased to have them on board and deep in conversations with us as we move forward. Also, at the December meeting of the congregation late last year, you'll recall that I was happy to re-stand as chair. At that meeting, I also told you or let you know that this would be my last term as chair of the congregation, and that I'd look to transition out of the role during the current 2-year term. As part of sharing the load more broadly across Church Council, we recently added the role of Vice Chair back into our bylaws in May, and Church Council has elected Ben Gargett to the role of Vice Chair. And we're extremely blessed and thankful for Ben stepping up into that role. As I reflected on my transition plan, I've worked really closely with Pastor Neville and Church Council on the timing of the transition and some of the detail of stepping back from the role of chair. With a round of upcoming elections in November, it makes a power of good sense for the congregation meeting in November to be my last official duty as chair of the congregation. So following the November meeting, I'll step down as chair and I'll also step off Church Council because that's the right thing to do, and simply go back to being a bloke in the pew with an opinion. Church Council has deliberated on succession planning, and I'm so happy to let you know that Church Council will be bringing forward the following recommendations to you when we meet in November. So Church Council will be recommending Ben Gargett to you as chair of the congregation and Kathy Harrison as vice chair of the congregation. As mentioned earlier, Ben is already vice chair, and he and I are working on some of the detailed handover activities behind the scenes. Kathy and Ben provide great leadership moving forward for the congregation, and Church Council is very excited in bringing these names to you as recommendations later in the year. Okay, over to Ben for the next part of the update. Thanks, Ben.
Well, thanks, Mark, and again, wonderful to be with you all today, even if it's using technology rather than face-to-face, as I'm sure we all would. And I do have my own thoughts and prayers with you all, and hope you've all been staying safe and well during this time of lockdown. And again, just remind you of all the various care options that we have as a congregation, so please reach out if you need support in any way. Mark mentioned a couple of areas that I'm going to cover off with you now, and so we'll work our way through those. And the first of those is in relation to the money that we have at the moment sitting in the bank ahead of the build for our Project B. So this is the surplus cash from the sale of our Station Street property. As you're all probably aware, like many of you, our excess funds are traditionally being held in the LLL, and that's been a really valuable thing for us to do, both to support the work of the church and also in terms of the interest rate return we've been able to generate on those funds. The LLL, like many other banks, has actually been decreasing that interest rate over time. And again, I'm sure most of you are aware that over recent times on at-call money, they've actually reduced that interest rate down to nearly zero. And have introduced a 6-month term deposit product as well. Church Council, of course, has been thinking about this and considered how we best invest our funds, and have looked at returns across other products as well as what the LLL has to offer us. Really focused on being low risk, if you like, defensive assets, so term deposits with high rated banks, to try and earn as much interest as we can while protecting that capital up until the time we need to spend it on the project build. And so what we have put together is a range of 4 to 5 banks that we're going to be spreading that money across, all of whom are subject to the federal government deposit guarantee to give us some degree of cover. And just for reference also, that does include the LLL still, so we will still retain a portion of the money in the LLL, but seeking to just maximise that return within that threshold. A few other things in relation to SPG and Project B that I did want to update you on at this point in time. And a little bit of a similar theme to some of the things you heard from Mark, that we've got a number of people that we're very grateful to, again, for their service over many, many years. And those of you who read our written update about a month ago will note that David Peach has recently stepped down from 2 of the 3 roles that he filled as part of SPG. David was the chairman, and David was also the project manager, so the St Paul's side project manager for Project A, so the church building project, and also, of course, just a member of SPG itself. We're very blessed that David has decided, while he's stepping down from the role of chair and project manager, that he'll continue on SPG through the Project B design and into construction phase. And we're just really grateful, David, for you for your ongoing service. And very similar to what we heard before, David's another person who has given hours and hours of selfless service to this congregation over many, many years to help us get to where we have. And so, David, we did just want to call that out for you as well. Marcus Feats, who has been a member of SPG, is stepping into that role as chair, and Andrew Leslie will also continue on SPG. And I'm really excited to share with you that we're also have a new member of SPG, which is Trina Bergman. Trina joins and will bring some tremendous experience and skills from her own background to that group, and we're really looking forward to her getting into things as we commence this next stage of Project B. Finally, really excited to announce to you that we have worked through a process to appoint a new project manager. And that project manager role is a really crucial one to the success of the project, as I'm sure you're aware from Project A. And there's been much thought and prayer and consternation that has gone into this. And so a real gift from God that we've been able to appoint a project manager. And I'm really excited to share with you today that we've appointed Tony Vong into that role. There's a couple of pictures of Tony that we'll just put up on the slides that you can see. Many of you will know Tony. Tony is a member of the Chinese Lutheran Church Victoria. And in fact, he's been part of the leadership team at CLCV for many years and currently in the role of treasurer. Tony's skills and background through his work experience, where he's been in senior leadership roles in a number of organisations, most recently doing some deep project management work with the City of Melbourne. And Tony has led all sorts of large projects and has got some really refined skills in this space that he'll bring to us. We're very fortunate, I guess, from a St Paul's perspective, that Tony decided to finish his role at City of Melbourne earlier this year and has been looking around at how he can, what's next for him and how he can serve going forwards. And it's been really amazing working with Tony and talking with him over a little while now, both for how he'll bring his professional skills and expertise into this role, but also his passion for serving and ministry that will come from what we're doing at Riversdale Road. Ideally, we would have had Tony here with us if we were doing this face-to-face with you all, but we will arrange a time for that in the near future for those of you who don't know Tony yet and would like the chance to meet him. And I just encourage you to do that, to go and say hello to Tony, but also to keep him and the rest of the SPG group in your prayers. The Ministry Resources Review is the next topic that I wanted to cover with you. And Mark referred to this a little bit earlier. And this is a review really designed to pick up and address our ongoing operating deficit that we've had through our budget process for a number of years now. For those of you that have been members for a period of time, might remember back to our November general meeting where there was the resolution that we put on the screen was passed at that AGM from the floor. Asking Council to look into this and to address that operating deficit. Of course, with the passage of time, we know that COVID hit very shortly thereafterwards, and all sorts of plans got thrown into chaos at that point. Council, however, is very keen to address this resolution and to bring back to the congregation that response that we are obliged to do. And we're looking to do that at this upcoming November AGM. Where as part of the November meeting cycle, you might be aware that we present the budget for the next year. So the timing of doing that works neatly in with that process. And so we will be looking to present a recommendation following the work of that committee. The Ministry and Resources Review, I've just listed a few bullet points on this slide. as to what are the key elements of their scope in the terms of reference. And that terms of reference has been set up, and they've been given, we've given them a relatively short time frame, as I said, up until the November AGM. So the team will be really busy. We're very conscious that the largest element of our cost items here at St Paul's is the salaries of our staff. And as you would expect us to, we have very much engaged with our staff ahead of the commencement of this process. They've seen the terms of reference and the scope of what this group are doing. And of course, we'll continue to engage with them and seek input from them through the process. With the outcomes, as I said, to be presented to Church Council, with Church Council looking to put a resolution to the November general meeting following the outputs of the review. Just listed on the slide the members who are going to be part of that process. And again, this is an opportunity where you'll have these people communicate with you and look to get your input into a number of areas of what they're seeking to achieve. And again, really grateful and thankful for the time and effort that Kathy, that Kate, Amanda, Tim and Brett are putting in and will put in over the coming months as this review is underway. And again, ask you to hold them up in your prayers. So a lot going on and a lot of areas, and we thank you for listening to us as we've talked our way through these with you. And we thank you for, I guess, listening to the request for prayer and input. There's a lot that we wanted to share with you, and it's exciting actually that despite all the challenges that COVID's throwing at us, despite ongoing lockdowns and so forth, that there is still a lot happening, and it is an exciting time for us as a congregation. I firmly believe that. And Mark talked at the start about this time for change, that we're coming into a new season for St Paul's, which allows us to look beyond ourselves and into this season with a focus on service and on mission. And we really encourage all of you to be part of that and to join with us in this focus on service and on mission. There's going to be many ways that you can be involved over the coming months as we pull together what that looks like, again with a view to presenting it to the November meeting. Our Church Council, together with the Pastoral Assistants and Pastor Neville, have been working together to develop our mission focus and determine what our strategy is and our priorities are going to be over this coming season. And what we would ask for you is to engage with this. So for everyone who's watching this and listening to this, you would have seen opportunities to engage with us, for example, through the women's ordination process, more recently as we were looking at the missional intent of our new building. And many of you were part of those discussions, and we thank you for that engagement. You're going to have similar opportunities over the coming months to be part of forming our mission and ministry priorities. And we really look forward to you being part of that process. And that might be through groups like those that I just referred to. There'll be survey opportunities to be part of, and also one-on-one discussions if that's a forum that is more comfortable to you. So please do engage with us. We do really want to hear from you. And we want this to be something that we co-collaborate and work together to pull together as a congregation. Personally, I'd love to hear from you. So if you'd like to speak to me, I'd be more than happy to have coffee, to have a chat after church. You can email me, and I'll be really keen to engage with you and hear your thoughts, as would all the others in our leadership roles. So as I said, it's a really exciting time for us at St Paul's as we journey into this new season with a real focus on service and on mission. We're excited for the work that has happened. We are deeply grateful for the many of you who have been serving us and who continue to serve in roles in the congregation. And not just those that we've called out today, but we're just deeply grateful for just the breadth of service that is already in place in our congregation. We ask you to commit those things that we've talked about to your prayers, and as I said, to engage with us as we enter into this season of service and mission. Thanks very much.